Welcome to this Soulstreaker ASMR video. Make sure to like and subscribe for more videos, and check out the links in the description for streams, shorts, and all manner of other things. Thanks for listening, and now, on with the video. This is a story written by Hans Christian Andersen in 1843, and like a great deal of fiction written so long ago, it has a few elements that are problematic today. I'm telling you this because this reading will make some minor changes to the language used in some parts. The original text has great value as it reflects the beliefs and culture of its writer in the era in which it was written. If you want to study it, Project Gutenberg retains several versions which you may use as reference. Now, little one, rest in my arms, get cozy, and drift off into restful slumber to this reading of Hans Christian Andersen's The Nightingale. This is a story of the Emperor of China. It is many years ago now, but that is exactly the reason why it is worthwhile to listen to this story before it is forgotten. The Emperor's palace was the most splendid in the world, wholly and entirely made of fine porcelain, very costly, but so brittle and risky to touch that one had to take very great care. In the garden, the most extraordinary flowers were to be seen. To the most magnificent of all, silver bells were tied, so that nobody might pass without noticing the flower. Yes, everything was most carefully thought out in the Emperor's garden, and it extended so far that the gardener himself did not know the end of it. If you went on walking, you came into a beautiful forest with tall trees and deep lakes. The forest went right down to the sea, which was blue and deep. Large ships could sail right in beneath the branches, and in the branches there lived a nightingale, which sang so divinely that even the poor fisherman, who had so much else to think about, stopped and listened when he was out at night pulling up his fishing nets and happened to hear the nightingale. "Lord, how pretty it is," he said. But then he had to attend to his business and forgot the bird. Still, the next night when it sang again, and the fisherman came out here, he said once more, "Lord, how pretty it is." From all the countries in the world, travelers came to the Emperor's city and were amazed at the palace and the garden. But when they came to hear the nightingale, they all said, "After all, this is the best thing." and the travellers told of it when they got home, and clever people wrote many a book about the city, the palace, and the garden. From all the countries of the world, the travellers came to the Emperor's city and were amazed at the palace and the garden. But when they came to hear the Nightingale, they all said, "After all, this is the best thing." And the travellers told of it when they got home, and clever people wrote many a book about the city, the palace, and the garden. But they did not overlook the Nightingale. It was put at the head of everything, and those who could make poetry wrote the loveliest poems all about the Nightingale in the forest by the deep lake. The books went all over the world, and some of them came, once upon a time, to the Emperor too. He was sitting in his golden chair, reading and reading, and every minute he nodded his head, for it pleased him to hear the splendid description of the city and the palace and the garden. Yet, the Nightingale is the best thing of all, was written there. So he called his marshal, who was of a high rank and held in great esteem. "It appears that there is a most remarkable bird here, called a nightingale," said the Emperor. "It is stated to be the very best thing in my vast realm. Why has no one ever told me anything about it?" "I have never before heard it spoken of," said the marshal. "It has never been presented at court." "I desire that it shall come here tonight and sing before me," said the Emperor. "Here is the whole world aware of what I possess, and I know nothing of it. "I have never before heard it spoken of," said the marshal. "I must search for it. I must find it." But where was it to be found? The marshal ran up and down all the staircases, through all the halls and passages, but no one of all the people he met had heard tell of a nightingale. And the marshal ran back to the Emperor and said, "It certainly must be an invention of the people who wrote books. Your Imperial Majesty could never imagine the things that people write. All manner of inventions, and something which is called the Black Art. But the book in which I read this," said the Emperor, "was sent to me by the high and mighty Emperor of Japan, so it cannot be an untruth. I will hear the nightingale. It must be here tonight. It has my most exalted favor, and if it does not come, the whole court shall suffer." The marshal cried in alarm and ran up and down all of the staircases and through all the halls and passages, and half the court ran with him, for they did not at all wish to suffer as the emperor had said. There was ever such a hue and cry after this remarkable nightingale, which was known to the whole world, but to nobody at court. At last they came upon a poor little girl in the kitchen. She said, "O Lord, the nightingale, I know it well. Yes, indeed, how it can sing. Every evening I have leave to carry home leavings from the table to my poor sick mother. She lives down the shore, and when I'm coming back and am tired and take a rest in the wood, I hear the nightingale sing. The tears come in my eyes with it. It feels as if my mother was kissing me." "Little kitchen girl," said the marshal, "I will promise you a permanent position in the kitchen and leave to see the emperor dine if you can guide us to the nightingale, for it is invited for this evening." So they all set out together for the wood where the nightingale used to sing. Half the court went with them. As they were making their way along, a cow began to low. "Oh," said the court pages, "now we can hear it. It's really a remarkable power for such a small animal. I'm quite sure I've heard it before." "No, that's the cow's lowing," said the little kitchen girl. "We're a long way off the place yet." Then the frogs began croaking in the pond. "Lovely," said the master of the palace. "Now I hear her. It resembles small church bells." "No, that's the frogs," said the little kitchen girl. "But I think we shall hear it very soon now." Then the nightingale began to sing. "That's it," said the little girl. "Hark, and there it sits." And she pointed to a little grey bird up among the branches. "Is it possible?" said the marshal. "I could never have imagined it would be like that. And how very shabby it looks. It must certainly have lost its colour at the sight of so many distinguished persons in its vicinity." "Little nightingale," the little kitchen girl called out aloud, "our gracious emperor very much wants you to sing to him." "With the greatest of pleasure," said the nightingale, and sang so that it was a pure delight. "It resembles glass bells," said the marshal, "and look at its little throat, how it works it. It is most curious that we should never have heard it before. It will have a great success at court." "Shall I sing once again for the emperor?" said the nightingale, who thought the emperor was there too. "My excellent little nightingale," said the marshal, I have the great pleasure of being commanded to invite you to a court festival this evening, where you will enchant the exalted imperial grace with your charming song. It sounds best out in the green wood, said the Nightingale, but it gladly accompanied them when it heard that the Emperor had asked for it. At the palace, there was a tremendous smarting up. The walls and floors, which were of porcelain, shone with the light of thousands of golden lamps. The most beautiful flowers, which could really ring, were set about the windows. There was a running to and fro and a draught of air, but that made all the bells ring till one could hear one's own voice. In the middle of the great hall where the Emperor sat, a golden perch was set up, and on it the Nightingale was to sit. The whole court was there, and the little kitchen girl had got permission to stand behind the door. Seeing now she had the title of actual kitchen maid. Everybody was in their best state attire, and everybody was looking at the little grey bird. The Emperor nodded to it, and the Nightingale sang so beautifully that tears came to the Emperor's eyes. The tears ran down his cheeks, and the Nightingale sang yet more delightfully, so that it went straight to his heart. And the Emperor was greatly pleased, and said that the Nightingale should have his golden slipper to wear on its neck. But the Nightingale thanked him, and said it had already had reward enough. I have seen tears in the Emperor's eyes. That is to me the richest of treasures. An emperor's tears have marvelous power. I am well paid. And it sang again with that sweet, divine voice. It is the most lovable coquetry one can conceive, said the whole suite of ladies, and they put water in their mouths so as to gurgle when anyone spoke to them. They thought that they too were nightingales. Yes, and the lackeys and chambermaids let it be understood that they also were satisfied, and that means a lot, for they are the most difficult people to suit. In fact, the Nightingale really did make a great success. It was now to remain at court and have its own cage, and liberty to take exercise out of doors twice in the daytime and once at night. It had 12 attendants, each of whom had a silken thread attached to its leg, which they held tight. There really was no satisfaction in these expeditions. The whole city talked of the remarkable bird, and when two people met, one would say nothing but night, and the other said gale, whereupon they heaved a sigh and understood each other. Nay, more than 11 pork butchers' children were named after it, but not one of them had a note of music in its body. One day, there arrived a large parcel for the Emperor. On it was written, Nightingale. Here now we have another book about our celebrated bird," said the Emperor. But it was not a book. It was a little machine that lay in a box. An artificial nightingale made to resemble the live one, but set with diamonds, rubies, and sapphires. As soon as ever the artificial bird was wound up, it could sing one of the strains the real one sang. Its tail moved up and down and glistened with silver and gold. Round its neck hung a little ribbon, and on it was written, "The Emperor of Japan's nightingale is poor, beside that of the Emperor of China." "That is charming," said everybody, and the man who had brought the artificial bird immediately received the title of Chief Imperial Bringer of Nightingales. Now they must sing together. What a duet it will be. So they had to sing together, but it wouldn't go right, for the real nightingale sang in its own style, and the artificial bird went off into waltz tunes. "No blame attaches to it," said the bandmaster. "It keeps excellent time. It is entirely of my school." So the artificial bird was to sing alone. It made as great a success as the real one, and was, besides, far prettier to look at. It glittered like a bracelet or a brooch. 33 times over did it sing the same self-melody, yet was not tired. The people would like to have heard it over and over again, but the Emperor said that now the live nightingale should sing a little. But where was it? Nobody had noticed. It had flown out of the open window, away to its own green wood. "But what is the meaning of this?" said the Emperor, and all the cold people scolded and said the nightingale was a most ungrateful creature. "Still, we have the best bird, after all," they said, and the artificial bird had to sing again. It was the 34th time they'd heard the same piece, but they didn't quite know it yet, for it was very difficult, and the bandmaster praised the bird in the highest terms, and assured them it was superior to the real nightingale, not only as regards to plumage and the many beautiful diamonds, but also internally. "For observe, your lordships, and the Emperor above all, with the real nightingale one can never calculate what will come next. But with the artificial bird all is definite. It is thus and no otherwise. It can be accounted for. One can open it up and show the human contrivance, how the waltzes are set, how they go, and how one follows on from another." "Exactly what I think," said everybody, and the bandmaster got permission on the following Sunday to exhibit the bird to the people. They too should hear it sing, said the Emperor. And they did hear it, and were delighted. But the poor fisherman who had heard the real nightingale said, "It sings pretty enough, and it's like it too, but there is something wanting. I don't know what." The real nightingale was exiled from the land and the realm, The artificial bird had a place assigned to it on a silk cushion close to the emperor's bed. All the presents that had been made to it, gold and jewels, lay around it. It had risen to the title of High Imperial Nightingale Songster. And in precedence was number 1 on the left-hand side. For the emperor accounted that side to be the most distinguished, on which the heart lay. And even an emperor's heart is on the left side. And the bandmaster wrote 25 volumes on the subject of the artificial bird. The work was very learned and very long, full of difficult words, and everyone said they had read it and understood it, for otherwise they would have been accounted stupid and been punished. So things went on for a whole year. The emperor, the court, and all the rest knew by heart every little clock in the artificial bird's song. But precisely for that reason, they liked it all the better. They could sing it themselves, and they did. And the emperor sang too. In fact, it was admittedly exquisite. But one evening, when the bird was singing its best, and the emperor was lying in bed listening to it, something went snap inside the bird. All the wheels whizzed around, and the music stopped. The emperor jumped straight out of bed and had his body physician summoned. But what use was that? They fetched a watchmaker. After much talk and examination, he got the bird into order after a fashion. But, he said, it must be most sparingly used, for it was very much worn in the bearings, and it was impossible to replace them so that you could be sure of the music. That was a sad affliction. Only once a year durst they let the bird sing, and even that was a strain. But thereupon the bandmaster made a short oration with plenty of difficult words, and said that it was just as good as before, and accordingly, it was just as good as before. 5 years had now passed, and a great sorrow came upon the whole country. For at bottom they were very fond of their emperor, and now he was ill, and, it was said, could not recover. The new emperor was already chosen, and people stood outside in the streets and asked the marshal how it went with their emperor. He shook his head. For cold and pale lay the emperor in his great stately bed, and the whole court believed him dead. And every one of them ran off to pay their respects to the new emperor. The servants of the bedchamber ran to gossip, and the palace maids had a large coffee party. Everywhere, in all the halls and corridors, cloth was laid so that footsteps could not be heard, and everything was very, very quiet. But the emperor was not yet dead. Stiff and pale, he lay there in his stately bed, with the long velvet curtains and the heavy gold tassels. High up, a window stood open, and the moon shone in upon the emperor and the artificial bird. The poor emperor was hardly able to draw his breath. It seemed as if something was sitting on his chest. He opened his eyes, and he saw that it was Death, who was sitting on his breast and had put on a golden crown, and was holding in one hand the golden sword of the emperor, and in the other his splendid banner. And round about, in the folds of the great velvet bed curtains, strange faces pushed themselves out, some horrible, others divinely kind. They were all the emperor's good and evil deeds. Looking at him, now Death sat upon his breast. Do you remember that? Whispered one after another. Do you remember this? And they told him of many things, so that sweat broke on his forehead. I never knew of that, said the emperor. Music, music, he called out, that I may not hear all they are saying. They went on, and Death nodded at everything that was said. Music, let me have music, cried the emperor. You blessed little bird of gold, sing, do sing. I have given you gold and precious things. I myself hung my golden slipper about your neck. Sing, do sing. But the bird was silent. There was no one to wind it up, and without that, it did not sing. But Death went on looking at the emperor out of his great empty eye holes, and everything was still, fearfully still. At that instant, there was heard close to the window the most lovely song. It was the little live nightingale that was sitting on the branch outside. It had heard of its emperor's need, and so had come to sing to him of comfort and hope. And as it sung, the forms became more and more shadowy. The blood coursed quicker and quicker through the emperor's weak body, and Death himself listened and said, Go on, little nightingale, go on. Yes, if you will give me the splendid gold sword, if you will give me the rich banner and give me the emperor's crown. And Death gave each of the treasures for a song. And the nightingale went on singing. It sang of the quiet churchyard where the white roses grow, where elder trees smell sweet, and the fresh grass is moistened with the tears of those who remain. Then a yearning for his garden came upon Death, and he floated out of the window like a cold white mist. Thank you, said the emperor, you heavenly little bird. I know you now. I drove you out of my land and realm, and yet you have sung the foul sins from my bed, and rid my heart of death. How would I repay you? You have repaid me, said the Nightingale. I drew tears from your eyes the first time I sang, and I shall never forget it to you. Those are the jewels that do the heart of the singing good. But sleep now, and become well and strong. I will sing to you. And it sang, and the Emperor fell into a sweet sleep, a sleep that was kind and healing. The sun was shining in at the windows on him when he awoke, strengthened and whole. None of his attendants had come back yet, for they believed he was dead, but the Nightingale still sat there, singing. You must always stay with me, said the Emperor. You shall only sing when you like, and as for the artificial bird, I'll break it into 1,000 pieces. Don't do that, said the Nightingale. It has done what good it could. Keep it as before. I can't make any home at the palace, but do you let me come here when I like. Then I will sit at evening time on the branch, there by this window, and sing to you, to make you happy and thoughtful too. I will sing about the happy and about those who suffer. I will sing of the evil and the good that is about you and is hidden from you. The little singing bird flies far and wide, to the poor fishermen, to the labourers' cottages, to everyone who is far removed from you and your court. For I love your heart better than your crown, and yet the crown has about it a perfume of something holy. I will come, I will sing to you, but one thing you must promise me. Anything, said the Emperor, as he stood there in his imperial robes, which he had put on himself, and held the sword heavy with gold against his heart. One thing I beg of you. Tell no one that you have a little bird that tells you everything. It will be better. And with that, the Nightingale flew away. The attendants came in to see their dead emperor, and, well, there stood they, and the emperor said, "Good morning." And thus ends The Nightingale by Hans Christian Andersen, as translated by M.R. James. Now, little one, rest.